Hey guys, don't forget we do lives every Wednesday and Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. If you guys want to hang out with us during a live, 7:30 p.m. Central Time, Wednesdays and Saturdays. Bang! Neeves Knives. I'm Jared. My lovely wife Kara's at work, and today we are doing the good and bad review on the Demko AD20 with the shark lock. We are going to show this knife with a picture of it all taken apart, showing the locking system, and also compare it to other locking systems taken apart. Let's get into this full review. I do want to thank Mr. Amazing for donating this knife to us. It's amazing, absolutely amazing, and this knife is absolutely amazing. Let's get into it. Thank you, bud. I appreciate it. The size of this knife is 8 5/8, so just over 8.5 inches. The blade length is 3 5/8, just over 3.5 inches. Here's a quick size comparison next to the Shaman, and here is the Hinder XM 18 3.5 inch. You can see they were both a little bit smaller, and they are not small knives. And then here it is next to the XM24 by Hinder, and you can see the Hinder XM24 is a bit bigger. And then here is a couple cold steel knives. We have the Code 4, which is basically the same size as the AD20. So if you have the cold steel Code 4, you know basically the size of this knife. It is a, it's not crazy big, but it's a large knife. Here is the Manix 2 XL, and here is the Manix 2, the regular version. You can see it's in between the two. It's pretty close to the XL, but the XL is still a little bit bigger. I think that's enough size comparisons. Let's get into this awesome knife. So, this knife has a 20 CV blade. It is a drop point blade with a flat ground edge. It does have a nice thick blade stock. And it gets down to about 20 thousandths behind the edge. Now, I have not sharpened this yet, but I have used it. I've been carrying the crap out of it, using the crap out of it. And yeah, it's going to need to be sharpened here pretty soon. But anyways, I don't doubt that it won't sharpen up very nicely. 20 thousandths behind the edge is a pretty good thickness, especially for a strong built knife like this. We'll get more into the geometry here in a second, but you can see the plunge grind and the sharpening choil. Nice thumb stud that you can remove right there. Jimping all the way up the spine. Obviously, I don't want to sit here and keep telling you guys things you can see, but the ergos are amazing. This thing, it's got a blocky feel, but in a good way, especially for a large hand. With me, it just fills my hand perfectly. Even if I go all the way up here on my palm fits in there really nice. Yeah, it feels really good in the hand. It does have the finger choil right there, where you can really get up close for close push cuts, or even just, to get up nice and close to the blade for whatever reason. G10 handles. We will get into the shark lock here in just a second. T8s. It has a T10 pivot, which is really nice. Love to see that. Absolutely love to see that. The clip works very well. It's not very deep, and it does have the lanyard hole, but it does work pretty good, even with this G10, which has this diamond pattern on it. Now, if you watched Metal Complex's video, I'm really happy for him, man. He's so excited that he got the titanium version of this. Good for you, brother. I don't know if you'll see this, but good for you. I'm happy you got something that you're really proud of, because I know I'm very proud of this one, so I can only imagine. And I do think that titanium's awesome. I love titanium. It's my favorite handle material. But even the G10 version is absolutely amazing, because this is kind of a hard use work knife. So it's going to be a knife that's going to be you know, you don't want to be scared to scratch, beat up, or anything like that. And I'm not saying you would with titanium at all. You know, love marks are a beautiful thing on a good work knife. But I can understand why G10 might even be a better option for some people. One, because of temperature in the hand, if you're not wearing gloves. And, you know, just lots of reasons like that. Anyways, but I love all the pins and, you know, all the hardware. It really shows the strength. Look at the standoffs. Man, nice big barrel spacers. I mean, it's just, this thing is a bruiser. I love it, love it, love it, love it. Let's get into the action real quick, and we will get into the shark lock right after. So the action is amazing, first of all. So you have the thumb stud action. Pow! And it works great. You can even middle finger flick off of the thumb stud very easily. And then you also have the fuller here, which is very easy to use. I mean, incredibly easy to use. Now you can also slow roll on the hole or on the thumb stud. There's so many ways to open this knife. Now, when I thumb deploy it, I tend to use the thumb stud more, you know, instead of the fuller, but the middle finger flick, I tend to use the fuller. Now, this shark lock, if you notice, when I pull it down, because that's how you unlock, if you haven't been watching, that's how I unlock it. Now, when I unlock it, you see it pops out, right? So now I can easily, it almost makes it seem like I'm using a flipper. Now, a flipper like this. Now, watch this. You've seen me just do that. Now, watch this. I'm going to pull it out. See how it does that? Now, just a little flick of the wrist. It's open. And I mean, if I wasn't under the camera, you'd really see how much it really looks like I'm just flipping the knife. Like here, let me just do it. Okay, that was just pulling it down. That's just pulling it down. A little tiny bit of wrist. Okay, now a little bit more wrist. Now a little bit more. Now you see how easy it is? I mean, I'm barely putting any wrist. And like if I have it held down like this, it'll just open right up. So I'm holding it upside down. Bam. So you can only imagine. I mean, this thing is just so, I'm holding the lock, I'm compressing the lock. It is on bearings. So, which you'll see here in a second. But yeah, it's so fast to deploy. And I almost feel like I am flipping a flipper tab sometimes. So I think that's awesome that you can do that. And I'm not the type, honestly, that likes to pull down my access lock and go like this. I don't do that. I never open my knife like that, ever. I never do it with the Mannix. By the way, that was the Benchmade bug out. This is the Mannix 2XL, but I never do that. But with this, it's a little different because it's kind of like a flipper tab. Anyways, it's very awesome. Now, if you look, you'll see this gigantic stop pin, which is going to stop it when you do open it up. Man, that sound too. Such a mechanical sound. The slow roll on this thing, we'll get back to the stop pin in 1 second. The slow roll on this thing is so satisfying. This is probably my favorite slow rolling knife, and I know it's crazy because usually my favorite slow rolling knives are phosphor bronze or Teflon knives. This is very, very satisfying. It's so easy to do, and then that pop, it's just, man, it's so cool. So, and then obviously when I depress the shark lock, it just drops all the way down, all the way down. And if I let go of it, it'll still, the weight of the blade kind of just takes it home, because if it's right here, it'll just, it pulls itself in. So from here to here, you see it pulls itself in. Now, once you get to here, now it stays, ooh, no, it doesn't. Now it's going to stay right there. And if I flip it over, you're going to notice it'll just open right up. So once you pass this spot from here to here, it's just on bearings. It's like there's no resistance. And then from here to open, it basically feels like it sucks in, because the lock is dropping into place and it's basically sucking it open. Very, very cool. Let's look at an exploded version of this locking mechanism. And also, I want to show compared to the triad lock. Now, the triad lock, now if you notice in those pictures, with the triad lock versus, and I'm just showing this one, I could have showed any of them, but with the triad lock, the difference here is that it's kind of similar. And then here in a second, when I get to the bad, I'm going to explain something that I feel it could have been even cooler, but it doesn't matter what I think. But the triad lock has, which is, you know, supposedly the strongest locking mechanism, and I still do think it might possibly be stronger than this. I don't know. It's hard to say what's stronger without seeing the tests. But you have the stop pin. It opens up, and then you have that groove, the back lock, falls down into that groove in between the stop pin and the blade. Now, what it's doing is it's creating pressure in between the stop pin, the blade, and that groove, making 3 points of contact. It's technically 4 with this pin right here, but in theory, or not even in theory, it just gets stronger over time because it's pushing into that slot. Well, this kind of does the same thing. If you looked at this thing exploded, it has a spring right here that pushes it back up, and then it falls down into this groove right here, which also has the 20 CV on it, if you want to see, 20 CV. And then it falls down into that groove, and then right here, that little dent right there is where the stop pin hits. So with all that play and how fidgety it is, this thing is locked up solid. I mean, solid. Very solid. And I'm actually happy that it's on bearings because it just has just this such amazing feel to it. Some people might have preferred it on phosphor bronze. Not me. I like it. And it's honestly easy to maintain if you want to. Go watch Nick Shabazz's video. That's where I got the pictures of this thing taken apart. Go watch his video and you'll see. But yeah, very, very strong, very, very awesome. Now, so many great things. Even excuse me, like right here, the that one actually says the Van Pump Pennsylvania, and then we have the Demko knives right there. I think that's even cool. I like Demko. I recently just watched a Slicey Dicey's video and learned a little bit more than I even knew about him. But let's get into the bad on this video. So, some bad things. There are just a couple. You know, it's kind of hard to say bad, but one thing, the edge angle, and that's another reason why I didn't want to sharpen it, because I wanted to show you this. So the edge angle was off just a little bit, not a big deal. This side's 25 degrees. It was sharpened. Then this side was 22 degrees. It was like 21, 22 degrees. And you could see the difference in the thickness of the edge. Not a big deal. I'm going to resharpen it. Might be a big deal for you. I don't think it is. Does it affect cutting performance? It's such a, it's so small of a variable that no, not really. Now, if it was, say, only sharpen on one side, like a chisel grind or something, then yeah, your cuts tend to go one direction. Not saying you can't push cut through something. I'm just saying it tends to lean that way. But you can use your hand and muscles to make it just go any direction you want. It's not like it's going to force you into any one direction, but it was off a little bit, not that big of a deal. Another thing, the cutting performance. Now this is where I kind of, you know, I understand, because the cutting performance is okay. It's not bad, but it's not great either. It definitely could be a lot better. But, however, this is a knife where I understand the blade geometry, the way it's done. Because of the strength, the locking system, and the type of knife they were going for, I understand, because it's trying to go for strength and that type of knife. And having it, say, have more better blade geometry, it wouldn't be as strong as it is like this. You know, would I like to see it with, say, a hollow grind? Yeah, I would. I would love to see that. I think it would cut way better. But then, in return, you're probably going to lose just a little bit of strength in the blade Not that much. That's why I feel like I would like to see that, but I understand it. I understand it from their point of view and why they did that, and it does still cut good. It's not like this thing's not going to cut. It will absolutely cut good, and I can always lay the edge back just a little bit more to get that initial penetration when I'm cutting into something for it to cut in, you know, nice and smooth. I'm definitely going to still have to muscle it past this thickness of this spine, but at least it'll have initial bite into materials a little bit better than it is right now after I sharpen it a little bit. Now another thing is when it's closed, you see this gap, and this is where I'm going to get into something that I think possibly, and this is just my opinion, I don't know if it would work or not, but you see this gap right here? So this is a gap. I feel like it's a good bottle opener, possibly. I haven't done it, but I'm sure it would. But what if, let's just say what if, let's just bear with me for a second. See the stop pin? That's where it locks up at. That's where it's at. That's why it's where it's at, because it has to be able to line up right there. What if that stop pin was dropped down and rested right on top of this mechanism where it lands? That would close this gap, right? Because then you'd be able to go up higher here. That would go down farther. And would this lock be even stronger? Possibly. Kind of like the triad lock. Like you see the pin, the stop pin? Now watch it. It's going to hit. And then this closes in between the two. I don't know. Maybe. I just think that that's possibly something that could have been done. And it would probably add to a little bit of the strength. I think that would have been awesome. But I don't know. But I think that would have been cool. And, you know, like I said, it does leave a little gap right there. Is the gap that big of a deal? No, it's nitpicking. I have to nitpick with a knife like this. Nitpicking central. Now another thing, I don't really like this lanyard hole. I mean, it is what it is. I just feel like they picked the lanyard hole over the position of the clip. Does the clip work good? Yeah. Do I understand it? Yeah, because if you're wearing gloves or something, you want to be able to get to your knife effectively, fast, with gloves on. And I understand that this might be a knife that somebody will be wearing gloves using. Even though I do lots of construction, there's lots of times when I'm wearing gloves and lots of times I'm not. So, you know, there are times where I'm not, you know, I'm going to have gloves on and I might need my knife, vice versa. But I still could have preferred it up just a little bit higher, you know, like right there. And I could still get to it even with gloves on. Because to be honest, you know, like even if it was a deep carry, you just slide your thumb right behind, even with gloves on, right behind your knife and then pinch. I mean, you can do that with a deep carry clip. I mean, it's pretty easy. You got it right there and you just put your finger, so if it's in your pocket, it's in my pocket right now, I just put my finger right there, bam, pull it out. But whatever, you know, they like it to hang out of the pocket a little bit. They can easily grab it. They don't have to put their finger behind it. That's okay. I understand that. But the lanyard hole, if you're the guy that put a lanyard hole or lanyard on this, let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear from you. And I'm not making fun of you in any way. I think that's awesome. I love hearing other people's opinions on what they like and don't like. And if you're the guy that likes lanyards that much that you would put it on an AD20, that is awesome, man. You deserve a prize. Not saying you're gonna get one though. Enter our giveaways, you might. Okay, so I got one other thing. Now, in this, it doesn't matter, okay? I just want to say that right now. This doesn't matter. So you have the thumb thing right there. Now, in my grip, right? In my grip, I can easily get over it. Do I feel it right there? Yeah, a little bit. Not much. Not much. Not much to really bother me too bad. I could see over time during the day if I'm breaking down cardboard, this just wouldn't be the knife I'd really be using to break down cardboard. But say if I had to, because this was the knife I brought and that's all I had, and I did have to break down cardboard, not a big deal. Now, in the hammer grip, pushing through materials, I do feel it a little bit. But for the most part, I kind of just angle my hand around it. So if you see what I'm doing, I'm angling my hand around it and it's just poking up right there. And that's how I do it. I don't really try to go right over the top of it, but I still can if I need to. If I really needed to, it's not a problem. So now in this position right here, I'm never going to really cut like this. I'm a little too, this is just for my hand. I can't speak for your hands, but I would never really cut like this. I'm just a little too far away from the blade. You know, I could cut like this, but I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't. I would creep up a little bit, and I would possibly cut just like this if this thing wasn't there. Since it's there, I'm going to cut like that, or like this. So it really doesn't get in the way that much, but it's there. Not a big deal, but you know, it is there. But that's the beauty of this knife, right? Is that shark lock. So all in all, this knife is so amazing. I love the stone washing on the blade. It fits the bill, right? This is the exact finish I would have asked for, is this beautiful stone washed blade. It just looks so good on it. And the G10 is done so good. Now this edge in here is a little sharp, so they could have chamfered that down. Do I feel it in my hand? No, I do not. Not even if I squeeze the life out of it. That's why it's not in the bad. But if I touch it with my fingers, yes, it is sharp to the touch. I do not know if it would be too sharp for your hands. Everybody's hands are a little meatier and skinnier and this and that. But in my hands, I don't feel that edge at all, unless if I try to with my fingers. So, but I could see they probably could have knocked it down just a little bit. Not a big deal. But man, this thing is just so awesome. The build quality is so good. It locks up so solid. These thumb studs are so big. It's so fidgety. And another thing, you kind of feel like with some knives that if you keep fidgeting with them, you're going to break something. With this thing, I don't feel like that. I feel like it could just be played with all day and it's fine. Not saying that's what I do, but I'm saying I feel like that. You know, it does have a coil spring, so it's not like an Omega spring. Coil springs last a very, very long time. And yeah, man, this thing is just such a bruiser, such a beast, and it feels so reliable in the hand. And when I carry it, I feel like I have a knife. Even in the pull grip, my palm fits right in there, nice and snug. In this, you know, in the pulling, it is a little tight in there. My hand does fit it perfectly, but it is a little tight, but I still can do it. Now, using the tip isn't a precision tip by no means, and I did do a little bit of light prying with this thing. I broke down it was basically rotted though, so don't think I was prying car doors or anything like that. It was a rotted pallet, and you know, I had to break it down to throw it in the dumpster. But it held up just fine, not a bit of problems. And this is the type of tip that you could get away with doing some light duty prying like that. Now, it's not going to be your precision guided tip, but I did use the tip a few times, you know, like just to see how it would work, and it worked okay. It worked good. But, you know, obviously other tips that are thinner are going to be better for that. Using the belly was really nice. I did a lot of just like breaking stuff down, and I did cut some straps with it too, which actually worked really good. I was actually kind of surprised how good it did on the straps I was cutting, because usually it works better to have a thinner blade, but it was just the integrity. So I basically wedged the blade behind the strap and just used, you know, the force to pop it, and yeah, it worked really good. But all in all, man, this knife is incredible. I can't wait till I sharpen it, and I will do an updated video on how it's going and, you know, just everything after I've sharpened it, and maybe I'll tell, you know, how it cuts after it's sharpened, because I almost did that for this video, but I wanted to show, and I could have just took pictures of the edge angle, but you know, I want to make this edge last as long as possible, and it's not quite there yet to really need a sharpening. It's gonna need one soon, and like I said, I'll do an updated video on it and talk about the differences on how it cuts versus the factory edge versus a, you know, my edge. And I already know though, I can tell you right now, it's gonna cut better. It's a fact. I love you guys. Mr. Amazing, thank you so much for this, man. This knife is so awesome, and I'm so happy to get it on the channel. I honestly never thought I was ever going to get this knife on the channel. So, You're amazing, man. And thank you guys for all you guys watching. If you guys like this content, give it a thumbs up. Think about subscribing. If not, get the hell out of here. Peace!